You know, there are times where I genuinely forget that there are still people in the year 2025 that are this narrow minded and ignorant. Now, not too long ago, there was some sort of interview or something where John Cena, and I'm sure that most people know who John Cena is, even if they don't follow professional wrestling. But he said that him and his wife, who he's been married to, I believe, for the past 3, 4 years now, something like that, they've made the decision that they will not be having kids and they do not want kids because they feel that they wouldn't be able to give the child all of their attention and they wouldn't be able to handle the responsibility of it. And they just don't really want the responsibility. They just want to be able to enjoy their life and so on and so forth. Now, this has garnered mixed reactions. Now, in a sane world, in a world where people aren't so fucking narrow-minded and ignorant, most, if not all, people would just be like, all right, you know what? It's his life. If that's what he wants to do, or that's not what he wants to do, rather, totally fine. Let him live his life. Whatever. And that's what, some people are saying. I'd say more people are saying. But of course, you've got unreasonable people who are just shocked. They're outraged even, like, oh my God, John Cena doesn't want to have kids. He has all this wealth, he has all this money, and he doesn't want to have kids. He only wants to devote his life to himself and his wife. How selfish. Wow, he's a selfish person who doesn't want to have kids. Holy shit, doesn't want to bring new life into this world. What a selfish person. And so on and so forth, and a bunch of other things. Now, there's a number of things that could be said here. One, when it comes to the selfish thing, it's not so much that Cena is being selfish. He's actually being a responsible adult in making this decision. He's being responsible because he realizes that he wouldn't be able to dedicate the proper time and attention to a child, and therefore is not going to have it, among other reasons, but that's always been one of the reasons, because Cena, this isn't a new thing. Cena's made it clear for some time that he will not be having kids, that he doesn't want to have kids, and that's always been one of the primary reasons. Now, if you ask me, that makes him super, super responsible and reasonable and smart, because the number of people who bring kids into this world and then just end up neglecting them in one way or another is just, it's astounding. Like, there are even examples in my own personal life, in my immediate family. I don't want to get too specific, but I'm seeing right now a clear example of people who have kids who should never have had kids, who both are extremely immature adults. It's a joke to even call them adults. But these two kids, my two nieces, to be specific, and again, I'm not going to name names, I don't want to get too specific, but they are not getting the attention that they deserve because of their parents. And again, I'm not going to go into it, but I'm seeing that play out in my own life right now. And that's not the only example. But I don't want to bring forth the other example because that would be getting a little bit too specific. But people who say this shit don't think about this at all. Like, I'm convinced it doesn't even cross their mind. There are so many parents who have children who should not be having children. And then these children, again, they either get, like, at the very least, they get neglected in some ways, or at the very worst, they get severely abused. Because the people having these kids, again, have no business having children or raising children or being around children in general. And I've seen the results firsthand, almost. I wasn't in person, but firsthand as you can get with not being involved, like actually involved there in the situation. Several examples in my real life. So this kind of hits close to home, and it hits close to home when people say this stupid shit. It's not selfish. Cena is not being selfish. Again, he's being a responsible person who realizes that he could not take the proper care of a kid that he would have. You know, sure, he has all the resources, like he has all the money, but that's not important. Like, that happens all the time too, where these people will have kids, but then they don't spend any time with their kids, which is very, very important. But because they're out and about all the time, they get neglected in that way. So, it's ridiculous. And the thing is, I would rather someone decide not to have kids for similar reasoning to Cena's, because they know that they couldn't, handle their responsibility, that they wouldn't be able to be the best parent that they could be, for any number of reasons, or maybe even, this is kind of an extreme example, but maybe some people don't want to have kids because they themselves were abused and they might be afraid of repeating the same mistakes or making the same bad choices. Or maybe they have a very irresponsible lifestyle. And if they do bring kids into this world, they could bring kids into this world with lifelong effects. I would rather that than people having kids because they feel that it's what they need to do, even though they don't want them, but they have them anyways. And then, again, at the very least, they end up resenting their children. And at the very worst, it's very, very well known that not only do their parents resent their children, but they view them as an annoyance. And then the children end up getting, again, mentally abused, emotionally abused, and then those kids have to deal with a bunch of baggage later on in life and might turn out to be abusers themselves. And I want to say, I know that not all people who come from abusive households end up being abusers or bad people themselves. There are plenty of people who have come out of abusive households who end up being good human beings and productive members of society. I totally get that. I'm not saying that is the case all the time. But it certainly happens enough for it to be of note. And another thing, I made a post about this on my Facebook as I was responding to another equally ignorant post on this topic, but having kids, it's not special. You are not special because you did what billions of other people on this planet have already done. And a lot of those people shouldn't have done it in the first place, but it's the easiest thing in the world to reproduce and bring a child into this world. Just because you did that does not make you fucking special. And it certainly is not the height of maturity or the pinnacle of what you can be as an adult, as a human being. Because again, look at the number of adults who have kids who neglect them, who abuse them, who are just incompetent all around and completely irresponsible. I could go off much more. There's more that I wanted to say, but any more would just be rambling. But again, before you decide to say something ignorant about this, or make some sort of ignorant statement or narrow-minded statement, or say something equally empty-headed as the selfish thing or anything else, remember the amount of parents who should not be parents, who, like I've already said, who neglect their kids, abuse their kids, aren't in... Kids who do not have the resources that they need, who grow up in horrific conditions, who end up needing all sorts of therapy later on because of how they were treated by their parents. It's fucking embarrassing, quite frankly. I mean, it's absolutely fucking embarrassing. And then you're having more and more stories about how these kids go no contact with their parents. And their parents are so fucking self-absorbed. They're such fucking massive narcissists. They don't have the capability of actually self-reflecting and wondering why. So many parents in the world like that. Yeah, you know what? I would rather have people like John Cena who know that they couldn't handle their responsibility and decide just to not have kids because otherwise it would be the completely wrong decision and, quite frankly, the wrong thing to do. If you have kids, it should be because you want to have kids, because you want to bring a life into this world and pour everything into that new life and give it the best possible life and upbringing that you can, and to ensure that they become productive members of society and become good human beings later on in life and are balanced as people. So that's all I have to say. Obviously, let me know what you think. Yeah, this, I mean, I've always felt this way. I've always thought it was ridiculous when people come at other people for not wanting kids, because how someone chooses to live their life, that's their choice. It's not your choice. It's more selfish for you to expect other people to live their life how you live your life. You expect everyone else to live their lives by your standards. That is more selfish. And again, narrow-minded, ignorant, and empty-headed as fuck. And especially after what's happened in my personal life this last year and a half, this topic hits home a lot fucking harder than it used to. And people like this piss me off all the more for it. So, that's it. I'm done. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.